City of Lights, a woman on the edge, one mysterious fall, and a legend reborn. Once a scandal, now a saint. Her image, flawless, her faith unshaken. But behind the miracles lies a choice between mercy and manipulation, between salvation and sin. When a woman plays God, the gods start watching back. Wang Rong, a modern parable, a story of faith, fame, and fate, where truth sleeps in dreams, and destiny never plays fair. This story is entirely fictional. All characters, plots, and events are the author's creation. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. This work is a literary exploration of human nature and social issues, with no intention of alluding to or commenting on any real individuals. Wang Rong, a modern parable. Chapter 5. The Society of the Virgin Mary. Time flies like an arrow. The mysterious fall of June is now an old news story from 5 years ago. Today, Wang Rong, as president of the Society of the Virgin Mary, stands on the vast playground of the Society's primary school, presiding over the groundbreaking ceremony for the new campus. The Society of the Virgin Mary Primary School has a history of over 100 years. Originally, foreign nuns established it in the then undeveloped small city so that girls from poor neighborhoods could receive an education. Across the street from the school is the nuns' dormitory, and next to it are the community hospital and neighborhood clinic, all set up by the early nuns. Over the years, however, the society hadn't developed much, quietly providing limited services to the city's poor. Wang Rong wore a pure white, elegant suit. Her long black hair flowed over her shoulders as she stood on the podium, graceful as ever, surveying the distinguished guests below, many from the city's political and business elites, feeling quite pleased with herself. She thought, "My mother at last has done something for her daughter." Indeed, Wang Rong became president thanks to her mother. Wang Rong's mother sent her daughter to the society's primary school because their home was just a block away, saving on transport, and because tuition, books, and uniforms were all free. Wang Rong's mother originally worshipped ancestors, but after Wang Rong married Feng Ming and life became comfortable, she began to cultivate herself. With nothing better to do, she decided to give back to society. She joined the society's volunteer team and, like her daughter, was baptized. Over more than 10 years, she was promoted from volunteer to office manager, responsible for general affairs and well-liked by all. She had watched her daughter's struggles and ups and downs, but always had faith in Wang Rong. With her looks and abilities, finding the next Feng Ming would not be hard. Still, Wang Rong was no longer young. To stand out, she'd have to create her own opportunities. Her mother knew that high-level positions in such charities were a shortcut to expanding social circles and gaining access to high society. She suggested that Wang Rong, given her social standing and her mother's connections, could be recommended as the society's treasurer, a public position that would also boost her image. Wang Rong understood the principle. You can never have too much money or too good an image. Her mother also hinted that the society's stagnation was due to internal corruption. Wang Rong, being clever, understood immediately. Thus, Wang Rong became treasurer and soon uncovered a massive corruption scandal, leading to a complete overhaul of the society's management. The former president was held legally accountable, and Wang Rong naturally succeeded to the top post. The scandal shocked society, and people praised Wang Rong's courage, ability to act, and her skill in dealing with bad guys. The media unanimously hailed her as the goddess of law who wields legal justice against evil, while the faithful saw her as the church's last guardian angel. To avoid accusations of nepotism, Wang Rong accepted her mother's resignation as office manager, further strengthening her credibility. In her second year as president, she proposed rebuilding the old cramped school in a new town on the city's outskirts, citing the school's outdated facilities and the aging neighborhood. The new campus would have a sports field, swimming pool, and multi-purpose teaching buildings to provide a healthy learning environment, continuing the society's mission, with free school buses for students traveling from other districts. All planning and fundraising were led by Wang Rong, whose abilities and determination amazed everyone. Although she was already one of the city's most successful media figures and public personalities, it was only after becoming president of the society that Wang Rong felt she had truly established her own place in society. The sense of victory made her feel this was the happiest time of her life, even happier than her wedding day. So, as she looked at the crowd's admiring and even worshipful gazes from the podium, she felt as if she were standing on an altar. Today, she had chosen a dazzling pure white dress. Right now, don't I look just like the Virgin Mary? Thinking this, Wang Rong's crimson lips curled into a satisfied smile. Sitting in a luxurious minivan, Wang Rong admired the skyline along the harbor through the window. Suddenly, her phone rang. She answered immediately. "Brother Kun, the ceremony is over." "Yes, I'm heading back to the office to finish up a few things." Wang Rong's voice became unusually coquettish and feminine, a tone she hadn't used with anyone for a long time. Judy, her driver and assistant, arched an eyebrow but kept a neutral face. Okay. I'll come over tonight." Though Wang Rong lowered her voice for the last few words, Judy's keen ears didn't miss it. "Judy, after you drop me at the office, you can get off work for the day," Wang Rong said, instantly returning to her usual calm and gentle tone. "Yes, Ms. Wang," Judy replied crisply, her face expressionless but a mischievous glint in her eye. Late at night, a dark blue sedan sped through winding suburban roads, illuminated only by faint yellow streetlights, the road flanked by darkness and trees. From above, it resembled a golden snake slithering through the grass. Wang Rong drove alone, hands guiding the wheel through each bend. Most women wouldn't dare drive alone in the dark, remote suburbs at night, and certainly not with such ease. But Wang Rong was a brave woman. She felt her life was like the road, winding but leading to her destination, as long as she chose the right path. Her destination was a villa, hidden deep in suburban woods, extremely secluded. She parked, walked leisurely to the gray, minimalist villa. Whenever she came here, she drove this old Japanese sedan, the kind any middle-class office worker could afford, so no one would suspect the owner's identity. She strolled in at ease. At this hour in this remote place, there was no chance of being seen. Every time Wang Rong and Brother Kun met in secret, it was here. He always chose the most hidden places in town. Wang Rong shed her usual glamorous look, wearing only a white shirt and jeans. At the door, she entered the code and walked in. Passing the entryway, she laughed coquettishly toward the couch. "Brother Kun." On the couch sat an elderly man with a full head of white hair. He stood to greet Wang Rong. He was by Shikun. The Bai family was a leading clan in the city, and Bai Shikun its current patriarch. Public estimates put the Bai fortune at hundreds of billions, with unknown hidden assets. At 72, Bai Shikun was still tall and straight. His eyes bright, nose high, and features sharp. One could imagine his youthful charisma. A man 10 years older than Fang Ming, but with a vitality that proved, if money couldn't buy everything, it could at least buy some health and energy. His face was lined with wrinkles. But to Wang Rong they were not ugly. If Fang Ming's wrinkles spoke of hardship, Bai Shikun spoke of wisdom. Bai Shikun was a famous tycoon and philanthropist, and, remarkably, a devoted husband. He and his wife, also of noble birth, had just celebrated their golden anniversary. Their 3 sons, all older than Wang Rong, were accomplished in their own fields. This affair was different from the one with Xing Jun. Now, Wang Rong no longer cared if Fang Ming found out. She was sure he would never bring up divorce again. To her that was enough. Waichong Garden, Block 1, 2nd floor. Bang bang. Bang bang bang. Open the door. Open up. Xing Jun. Wang Rong. You shameless couple. Don't think you can hide from me. Fang Ming was shouting outside the apartment door. Inside the living room, a panicked man and woman stood together. Jun. Find somewhere to hide. I'll deal with him, Wang Rong said anxiously to Xing Jun. Where can I hide? This tiny apartment can be seen in one glance. If I hide, I'm just waiting for him to drag me out. Don't open the door. Look at how crazy he is. He might just burst in and kill us, Xing Jun said, worried. Wang Rong was flustered and distraught. So what, are we supposed to let him stand outside all night, yelling that we're an adulterous couple? With all this noise, our reputation will be completely ruined. As she finished, she broke down and started to cry. Don't panic, let me think. Got it. Xing Jun calmed down, thought for a moment, and then walked straight into the bedroom, opening the window. Jun, what are you doing? Wang Rong followed him into the bedroom, startled. Xing Jun stuck his head out to look for a while, then turned back to Wang Rong and said, Look over there, there's a wide crossbeam. It's more than big enough for a person to sit on. He pointed out the position of the beam to her. There were also several thick pipes attached to the concrete beam. If you crawl along the water pipes from the edge of the window, you can get up onto it. The woman was silent for a moment, then protested. No, that's too dangerous. What if you fall? I won't. Look, it's only about 4 feet from our window to the beam, Xing Jun said, full of confidence. All right, I'll close the bedroom door, and then you can open the door to deal with him. I'll stick to the wall. He won't see me even if he looks out the window. Let's do it this way, Xing Jun urged, pushing Wang Rong out of the bedroom. This was what Wang Rong told the police, and Fang Ming happened that night. According to tabloids, after Xing Jun's death, his family emigrated and vanished from public view. Sigh, 5 years have passed so quickly. Alone in a cafe, Fang Ming read the newspaper's coverage of the school's groundbreaking and was lost in memory. Seeing Wang Rong in white on the podium in the photo, he gave a bitter laugh. Heh. Looks just like the white-robed Guanyin. Wang Rong had tried to convert her husband, but could not change his devotion to Guanyin, the goddess of mercy. Now over 60, especially since his son Fang Zheng left for the US to study, Fang Ming felt listless. His wife was now never home, and he only learned of her from the news. Since Xing Jun's fall, Fong Ming no longer involved himself in Wang Rong's affairs. He felt he had lost that right. He had even, after the incident, told the press he forgave his wife's affair. That was after Wang Rong knelt, sobbing and pleading with him. "Brother Ming, please, say one word to them. Just give me a way out." Moved by her tears, he agreed to this humiliating plea. He knew, when Wang Rong's image was shattered, if the victim husband stood up to forgive her, the public would see her as not beyond redemption. And out of sympathy for Fong Ming, they would somewhat ease their criticism of Wang Rong. But in doing so, Fong Ming's dignity as a man was utterly destroyed. Both spouses understood this, and yet Wang Rong chose to sacrifice him to save herself. This broke Fong Ming's heart. He withdrew further, so much so he didn't even have the courage to propose separation. He had enough experience to read Wang Rong's mind. After the Xing Jun incident, he soon realized Wang Rong no longer loved him. The reason they didn't divorce was not nostalgia, but that maintaining the marriage helped her build her repentant sinner and returning prodigal image. Now Wang Rong was not the cheating wife, but the saintly mother who, after success, still stood by her down-and-out husband. Now Fong Ming was just a prop in her public persona, a brick in the altar she built. He was in anguish, knowing his situation too well. But compared to divorce, with nothing left and losing his son, he weakly chose to stay in this humiliating false relationship. Xing Jun, go and hide quickly. I'll deal with him. Hide. Where can I hide? You can see everything in here at a glance. If I hide, I'm just waiting for him to drag me out. You're not actually going to open the door, are you? Xing Jun was panicked. His usual carefree demeanor had completely vanished. I'm telling you to hide outside. Come with me. Wang Rong grabbed Xing Jun by the hand and dragged him into the bedroom. Fong Ming didn't understand why, while inside the apartment, he was watching their performance, but he still followed them into the bedroom. Inside the bedroom, Wang Rong pointed at the window. Both the glass and the window grill were open. Before Fong Ming could react, he was startled to see Xing Jun suddenly turn to look at him. You saw it. Xing Jun, expressionless, said these 4 words to Fong Ming. Fong Ming awoke with a scream. He sat up, gasping, sweat pouring down his face, too weak to wipe it away. He jumped out of bed, turned on every light, and sat in the living room until he calmed down. This was the 3rd time in 2 months he'd had this dream. He went to the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of strong liquor, and downed it. Looking up, he stared at the wedding photo still hanging on the wall. In the photo, he was dressed for the ceremony, beaming, and Wang Rong was radiant and youthful, smiling with happiness. He had never been able to take it down. Now, looking at Wang Rong in the photo, it seemed she was smiling at him. But that smile was no longer sweet, increasingly strange, increasingly chilling. He stared at the photo for a long time, then put down the bottle, took a deep breath, and without a word, took down the poster-sized wedding photo, tore it in half, then went to the kitchen, took out a lighter and a red metal bucket for burning joss paper, and set the photo alight. Chapter 6 by Shikun and Xia Yu. At 4 a.m., while Bai Shikun slept soundly beside her, Wang Rong sat up in bed, slipped on her robe, tiptoed out of the bedroom, quietly closed the door, went downstairs, and sat on the leather sofa in the spacious living room, Bai Shikun's usual seat. In front of the sofa was an entire wall of floor-to-ceiling glass windows. This villa was perched near the mountain peak, so during the day, sitting here you could see the rolling mountains outside. But Wang Rong never had the chance to enjoy the view. She always came here at night. At night, the mountains were pitch black, but if you looked far enough, you could see the dazzling city lights beyond the mountains, like a sparkling jewel pinned to the edge of the dark sky. This view was not visible during the day. The nightscape was the only thing Wang Rong liked about the villa. She found the decor overly gray and cold, with not a single extra ornament, not even a painting on the wall, as if the owner wanted to leave no trace here. This thought made Wang Rong uncomfortable. Every time Bai Shikun fell asleep, she would quietly come downstairs, sit here, and gaze at the night, thinking about her future plans. But tonight, for some reason, memories from the past kept surfacing in her mind. Suddenly, Wang Rong frowned and shifted her waist, wanting to change her sitting position to ease the sore, awkward spot on her body. Her relationship with Bai Shikun had lasted for 2 years. 2 years ago, Wang Rong met Bai Shikun at a business social event. Of course, she knew who he was. A man worth tens of billions, and according to the newspapers, a paragon with no hint of scandal. At least that's what the media said. So when he openly expressed his admiration for her, she was instantly conquered. At the time, Wang Rong had just taken up the presidency of the Society of the Virgin Mary, and was at the height of her fame. "You are unique. There are many beautiful women in the world, but I have never met one as beautiful and capable as you." That was Bai Shikun's compliment to her. Every time Wang Rong recalled these words, her vanity was stroked. After all, this was praise from a super-wealthy man. But she knew it wasn't enough. To truly win his heart, she had to make herself even more valuable. Wang Rong knew the Bai family's business empire included real estate and land development. She also knew Bai Shikun was planning a major redevelopment in the slum district where the society's primary school, her own childhood home, stood, to build a new middle-class community combining commercial, cultural, and residential use. The society's complex, including the school, nuns' dormitory, community hospital, and clinic, sat at the heart of these plans. With a century of history and deep community ties, the society's buildings would not be easy to remove. So Wang Rong took the initiative to tell Bai Shikun she could clear this obstacle for him. And she succeeded. Of course, besides fundraising and government support, most of the land purchase and new school construction funds came from Bai family enterprises. This was only the first step. Soon, under her leadership, the nuns' dormitory, hospital, and clinic would also be relocated and rebuilt. Outside, the villa was enveloped in darkness. No stars, no moon, only a distant patch of lights glowing red at the horizon. For some reason, tonight she found herself missing Jun. She hadn't thought of him for a long time. Her affair with Jun had only lasted a little over a year. When she was a trainee at the law firm, she learned that Jun was a VIP client, also a charming, well-known figure in the financial world. On her 35th birthday, the boss and colleagues threw her a party, and Jun unexpectedly showed up. She couldn't recall exactly how their affair began, only that he brought her a kind of delight and intoxication she'd never felt as a woman. Jun was handsome, elegant, witty, always making her laugh, and most of all, he knew how to flatter her. After marrying Fong Ming in her youth, Wang Rong had to bear the responsibilities of being a wife and mother. Fong Ming treated her well, but was strict and controlling, and after marriage, all sweet talk disappeared. Her biggest complaint about him. Perhaps it was because he treated her so seriously as a wife that he became so dull. But Jun treated her like a princess, even a queen. That was the difference. With Jun, Wang Rong felt young and girlish again. Fong Ming had been the husband of her childhood dreams, but Jun was the perfect lover, beyond her imagination. She knew there would never be a real future with Jun, and she didn't want one. They both had families. They just wanted a romantic, fleeting affair. But her feelings for Shikun were different. She saw a report in a magazine about Shikun's golden wedding anniversary. His wife, now wheelchair-bound and heavily made up, unable to hide her frail spirit. Wang Rong knew that Mrs. Bai had been ill for 10 years, dependent on medicine and technology. So Wang Rong revived a childhood habit. The newly built Society of the Virgin Mary Primary School included a chapel, small, but in a beautiful classical Western style. The Virgin Mary statue, once in a playground corner, now stood inside the chapel. Though busy, Wang Rong made time every night she was in the city to visit the chapel, offer fresh flowers, and pray by candlelight, asking the Virgin's blessing, that she might soon become the next Mrs. Bai. Wang Rong was certain the Virgin would grant her wish, just as she'd once sent her Fong Ming. This day, Fong Ming behaved unusually. Instead of having afternoon tea alone at a cafe, he had lunch with a young man. Fong Ming sat across from the young man, unable to stop studying his features, barely able to contain his agitation and disbelief. The young man, on the other hand, showed no discomfort, carrying himself with poise and warmth. He even had the same temperament. Fong Ming was shocked. The day before, on his way home, a tall, handsome young man had approached and politely asked, "Excuse me, are you Mr. Fong Ming?" At first sight, Fong Ming was stunned. The youth looked almost exactly like her, Xia Yu. "Hello, my name is Xia Lixin. I'm Xia Yu's son," the young man said gently, resolving Fong Ming's confusion. "You want me to break up with Ming? Impossible," Xia Yu said calmly but firmly to the beautiful young woman before her. She was angry. Though gentle by nature, even she had limits, especially at Wang Rong's outrageous demand. Of course, she knew about Fong Ming's affair with Wang Rong. Long before this, her intuition had told her Fong Ming's heart was straying. "Miss Wang, we've been together for 20 years. Longer than you've been alive. I won't leave him and neither will he," Xia Yu said, her tone calm but resolute. "That's exactly why you should leave. You've made enough over the years, haven't you?" Wang Rong sneered, her voice softer than Xia Yu's but her words sharp as knives. "If he really loved you, why wouldn't he marry you after 20 years? You!" Xia Yu couldn't bear it. Shaking, eyes red, she almost slapped Wang Rong but restrained herself. Why didn't Fong Ming marry her? She knew the unspoken reason, that painful spot in her soul, her fatal weakness. Worst of all, Wang Rong seemed to see right through it. Wang Rong looked Xia Yu in the eye and sighed. "Miss Xia, maybe you should believe that all this is God's arrangement," she said, her gaze even tinged with pity. Xiaoyu laughed coldly. God arranged for you to be Feng Ming's wife. We'll see. I'm not leaving. If your God is so powerful, have him get rid of me. She turned to go, unwilling to face this frightening girl any longer. We'll see indeed. If you refuse to leave Ming within a month, the whole city's media will dig up all the gossip about Feng Ming's girlfriend Xiaoyu working in sleazy bars, Wang Rong said, her voice cold and lips curved in a cruel smile. Xiaoyu spun around, eyes wide in shock, staring at Wang Rong. Wang Rong's lips curled, her next words uglier still. And she even posed for filthy nude photos and adult films to make a bit of money. Shut up! Xiaoyu screamed. She had never in her life screamed so shrilly. Both Xiaoyu and Feng Ming had grown up in the slums, neighbors in the same building. In that environment, hardship and temptation had led Xiaoyu astray in her youth. So Wang Rong's first accusation was true. But she hadn't stayed long in that world. Soon, Feng Ming had come to her and said, "Stop. From now on, I'll take care of you." He'd spoken calmly, not even meeting her eyes. But Xiaoyu felt the weight of his words. For the next 20 years, through danger and fortune, except for marriage, Feng Ming had kept his promise. So Wang Rong's second accusation was baseless. So Xiaoyu laughed bitterly. "I never did those things. What evidence do you have? Are you going to fake it? I don't care if you did or not, and neither does anyone else," Wang Rong replied coolly. "Truth doesn't matter. What matters is, people would love to see the successful businessman's woman exposed as filthy and fallen. And the media would oblige, turning the public's desires into fact. You can protest, but no one cares about the truth. The only certainty is that Ming's reputation will be ruined. That's how people are. They idolize successful men, then crave to see them fall. They praise pure women, then want to see them dragged through the mud." Wang Rong spoke calmly, but her eyes glinted with something that chilled Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was stunned by the malice in someone 17 years her junior. "And I have plenty of friends in the media. If I want to ruin you, I absolutely can." Wang Rong seemed to declare victory. Xiaoyu wasn't afraid for herself. But she couldn't bear to see Feng Ming's reputation destroyed. Seeing Xiaoyu trembling, Wang Rong's tone softened. "Miss Xia, I know you love Ming as much as I do. I'm leaving now, think it over." After Wang Rong left, Xiaoyu finally let her tears fall. She laughed, a sad, desperate laugh. "Wang Rong, you're wrong. I love him so much more than you ever could." In the cafe, Feng Ming listened quietly to the story. Most of the time he stared at his cup of coffee, untouched and long cold. Neither man touched their lunch. "When she met my mother, she didn't say she was pregnant. She wouldn't show weakness to her rival. Only when you asked to break up did my mother learn Wang Rong was carrying your child," Xia Lixin said, sipping cold coffee. "If she'd simply told my mother she was pregnant, my mother's nature would have made her leave anyway." Guilt choked Feng Ming, leaving him speechless. He'd never imagined Xiaoyu had suffered such bullying. He'd never realized how ruthless Wang Rong had been, even as a girl. It seemed he'd never truly seen what kind of woman Wang Rong was. The sense of defeat was worse than the failure of his marriage or career. At least now, he understood why Xiaoyu had that look of realization when he told her Wang Rong was pregnant. Your mother sent you to tell me all of this? Feng Ming finally managed to ask. Xia Lixin smiled kindly, his gentle gaze making Feng Ming feel as if he were seeing an old friend. You know, Zheng and I are friends. One day I invited him home, and as soon as my mother saw him, she froze. She knew right away he was your son. As a boy, Feng Zhang had resembled Wang Rong, but as he grew, he looked more and more like Feng Ming. Now he was a younger version of his father. Feng Ming was proud of his dutiful son. This was why he'd compromised, hoping to give his boy a complete family. My mother only told me these things recently, after much thought. She'd assumed you'd gone your separate ways, never to cross paths again. But then your son came to San Francisco, attended the same university as me, became my roommate and my friend. She thought this must be fate, that heaven wanted her to tell you the truth. That's why she sent me. Feng Ming was silent for a long time, then took a deep breath. So? He looked at Xia Lixin, forcing out 2 words. He seemed to realize what the truth was. Suddenly, unable to hold back anymore, he blurted out, "You're my child." Xia Lixin looked at the weary, weathered man before him, his eyes brimming with tears. My mother only realized in San Francisco that she was pregnant with your child. The handsome young man took a deep breath and continued. My mother loved me deeply, but never spoke of my father. I never asked. I didn't want to make her sad. If she wanted to tell, she would. He paused, then looked at Feng Ming. Yes, I am your son. Zheng is my older brother. He was born a month before me. Xia Lixin seemed to have inherited his mother's temperament, calm even in emotional moments. So when he said, I am your son, his tone was gentle, but his eyes shone with tears. This was a cozy literary cafe. At that moment, the summer evening breeze drifted in through the dark green window, brushing past the long-separated father and son. At night, Feng Ming couldn't sleep. He got up, went to the living room, watched TV, and drank whiskey. Suddenly, he heard a strange noise from the bedroom, a heavy object falling. Feng Ming was instantly alert. Was a thief climbing in the window? But this was the top floor. What kind of cat burglar would be so bold? He quietly picked up an iron rod and crept toward the bedroom. Suddenly, he heard men's and women's voices arguing inside. Impossible, he thought. Could there be a female thief too? The door was ajar. He peered inside and saw a man and a woman. The woman stood by the window. The man was outside. Outside was a drop of 20 floors. The man was terrified, voice trembling and almost crying. Wrong. Don't be crazy. This won't work. Let me in. The woman stood guard, blocking his return. Why are you so useless? Isn't there a beam? Is it that hard to climb over? The man really did cry, but kept his voice down so as not to alert neighbors. He had a reputation to protect. You crazy woman. You think I'm some acrobat? I can't make it. Just let him catch us, so what? The woman's voice dripped with venom. Of course it doesn't matter to you. Your wife doesn't care if you have an affair. You say sorry and you're a good husband, a good father. But Ming will never forgive me. He wants to catch us red-handed so he can divorce me, with just cause. She laughed bitterly. Then I'll lose my family, my child. Everyone will laugh at me. You'll lose nothing. The man dropped all pretense of being a gentleman. You blame me. This was mutual. If you were so afraid of divorce, you should have been a good wife. Why have an affair? He ignored her and tried to climb back inside, but he was no longer young and struggled. The woman rushed to the bedside, grabbed a bronze statue, a 2-foot-long rod-like sculpture. She gripped it and lunged back to the window, jabbing the man in the chest. It wasn't a hard blow, but he hadn't expected it. Startled, his sweat-soaked hands slipped. He lost his balance and fell. Breathing hard, she calmed herself, placed the statue on the bed, wiped it with a quilt, wrapped it in a towel from the wardrobe, and put it back in place. Fong Ming finally saw what it was. An abstract bronze sculpture of 2 nude figures entwined, so close they looked like a single rod. He remembered, on the night he'd caught them at Wai Chung Garden, when Wang Rong opened the door and he burst into the bedroom, the sculpture was on the bedside. He'd been furious just seeing it. You wretch! He was shocked at himself for cursing his wife, something he'd never imagined he could do. At the time, the sculpture felt like a red-hot knife in his heart. He'd never noticed the man he'd expected to find was already lying in a pool of blood below. Fong Ming woke from his dream. This time he wasn't startled. He didn't feel afraid in the dream. As he watched the scene from the doorway, it felt like a movie. He got out of bed and took a cold shower. The coolness washed over him, body and soul. He didn't care whether the dream was true or false. He thought of Xia Yu, and of his other son, Xia Lixian. At that moment, Fong Ming had made his decision. Chapter 7, Divorce. Today was Wang Rong's 43rd birthday. As in the previous 2 years, colleagues from the Society of the Holy Mother and many members of the congregation held a lively birthday party for her at the newly built Holy Mother Church in the city center. Everyone praised Wang Rong for her ageless beauty and everlasting youth. Wang Rong always responded to these compliments with wit and humor, as she was known for her sharp tongue, and the crowd laughed heartily. Yet deep down she felt quite uneasy. Only a woman whose youth is slipping away needs to preserve her looks. Only she wishes for youth to last forever. So, after the party, Wang Rong went to pray at the chapel of the Society's primary school, and remained in low spirits even on her way back to the office. What she truly wanted was for Bai Shikun to celebrate her birthday, not these people who did not matter. But she knew that was impossible, at least for now. However, when she opened the express-registered parcel Judy had left on her large desk, her mood changed completely. It turned out the Holy Mother had prepared an unexpected birthday gift for Wang Rong. Wang Rong sat in her executive chair, staring at the opened envelope on her desk. Inside was a stack of documents. She murmured, "The Holy Mother has shown her power. The Holy Mother has truly shown her power again." She wanted to laugh, but the shock was so great that even the muscles in her face were stiff, and she could not manage a smile. The document was a divorce agreement, sent by her husband, Fong Ming. Before this, Fong Ming had been missing for more than 2 months. Ever since she became Bai Shikun's mistress, Wang Rong rarely returned to the home she shared with Fong Ming. She had her own room in the convent, a comfortable and quaint place, mainly to make people believe she was not the lofty Holy Mother, but one who lived among the masses. More than 2 months ago, Wang Rong had returned home to fetch some items. Upon entering, she noticed that Fong Ming's personal belongings and clothes were gone. The milk in the refrigerator had only expired a few days before, so she deduced that Fong Ming had left not long ago. Afterward, Wang Rong tried to call and message him, but received no reply, as if he had vanished from the world. She let the matter drop. By now, the public had almost forgotten that Wang Rong even had a husband named Fong Ming. Now, Fong Ming had sent this divorce agreement. Wang Rong understood that this was another blessing from the Holy Mother. She truly had plans to divorce. Fong Ming had helped her through the period when her public image was collapsing and she was on the verge of social ruin. But that dangerous time had long since passed. Now, Wang Rong was shrouded in the halo of the Holy Mother throughout the city. She no longer needed Fong Ming. People would understand that a couple with such a large difference in age, career, and social status would naturally separate. More importantly, she now had a clear goal. She was preparing to become Bai Shikuan's second wife. For the past year, she had been pondering how to bring up the subject, but she had been cautious, worried that Fong Ming would not accept it and cause a scene. If he became stubborn and decided to go down with her, the impact on her image would be incalculable. Wang Rong was even more afraid that Bai Shikuan would be displeased. The upper class valued reputation above all else. Then Fong Ming disappeared, leaving her not even the chance to speak to him. Would she have to wait 2 years to apply for divorce? She was already over 40. Her youth was slipping away rapidly. She feared that, within these 2 years, Bai Shikuan might meet another Li Rong or another Zhang Rong, perhaps not as capable, but likely younger than she was. Therefore, she was troubled, kneeling before the Holy Mother many times to pour out her predicament. Then, the Holy Mother sent her this divorce agreement. That night, she watched television in the convent. The breaking news reported that Bai Shikuan's wife, Madame Bai Chanuesian, had recently passed away in hospital at the age of 75. It turned out she was 2 years older than Bai Shikuan. Immediately, Wang Rong drove to the small chapel at the society's primary school, knelt before the statue of the Holy Mother, and gave thanks for this blessing. She wept bitterly, tears of infinite happiness and joy. "Thank you, Holy Mother, thank you. I knew it. You have always cared for me. You care for me more than anyone else in this world. No one cares for me more than you." Wang Rong sobbed as she spoke. She cried so hard that her whole body prostrated before the Holy Mother. The Holy Mother lowered her eyes, her face wearing an eternally loving smile, as if she was looking at Wang Rong, or perhaps not. That day, Wang Rong received a call from Fong Ming. The number showed it was from the United States. "Hello, Ming. Rong. I have signed the papers. I mailed them back to the law office this morning." "That is good. Do you also agree to let Jing stay with me?" Wang Rong paused, then smiled and said, "Yes. Although I am very fond of Zheng, you know how busy I am now. I really do not have time to take care of him. With you by his side, I have nothing to worry about." Fong Ming was silent, seeming not to agree with her words. This made Wang Rong uncomfortable. She thought for a moment and said, "Ming, if you ever need anything or have any difficulties, please do not hesitate to come to me. I will definitely." Before she could say, "Help you," Fong Ming interrupted. "That is not necessary." His tone was firm. Wang Rong was taken aback. "I am not so incapable that I cannot provide food and shelter for the two of us." His voice was still resolute. "Also, you do not need to call me that anymore." Wang Rong sneered inwardly but thought that, at this stage, There was no need to argue with someone who no longer mattered. So she did not persist. She laughed and said, "Very well. That is all. I wish you what you desire." Happiness with by Shikun. Wang Rong was startled. How did he know about me and by Shikun? Before she could react, Fong Ming's voice sounded again, full of fatigue and indifference. "That is all. Goodbye." He had already hung up. Wang Rong was left with a sense of shock and doubt. Impossible. Other than herself and by Shikun, only Judy knew about this. But Judy could not have told him. Soon, however, she put the matter out of her mind. After all, there was too much waiting for her in the future, and the past was no longer worth dwelling on. She and Bai Shikun married that winter. As his late wife had only recently passed, the wedding was simple but solemn. The public was divided. Some believed they were both kind and charitable, truly a match made in heaven. Others felt that marrying a new wife so soon after the previous one's death was improper. Some even saw it as a case of the mistress rising to power, for Wang Rong had played the role of the third party in both her relationships with Fong Ming and Xing Jun. Amidst all the gossip, Wang Rong became Madame Bai, joining the ranks of high society ladies, an unchangeable fact. After marriage, she did not give up her career. She continued to lead the Society of the Holy Mother and the Legal Center, championing justice for the poor and powerless. Under her leadership, the society flourished and developed rapidly. Thanks to Wang Rong's active good deeds, criticism of her quickly faded into the past. Wang Rong remained the Holy Mother on earth, only stronger than before. Wang Rong and Fong Zheng still had a good relationship. Mother and son corresponded regularly by email, sharing news of their lives. Even after Fong Zheng found a job in the United States, she continued to send him large sums as pocket money. Fong Zheng did not refuse. From Fong Zheng, she learned that Fong Ming had opened a small restaurant in San Francisco, and was doing all right. But Wang Rong wished that the two of them could have a more prosperous life. Fong Ming, at his age, still needed to work hard for a living, which must have been tiring. Fong Ming would never accept a woman's generosity, so she could only give the money to their son. She considered that money her way of fulfilling her responsibilities to father and son. Wang Rong felt that she had done everything she could for her former husband. On her office desk, she still kept a photo of Fong Zheng. Seeing him, she could not help but think of Fong Ming, since her son looked so much like his father. Each time Wang Rong gazed at the photo in a daze, she could not help but recall her first meeting with Fong Ming. How mature and powerful he was, exuding an irresistible masculine charm. Back then, Fong Ming was in the prime of his life. Yes, even the Holy Mother would sometimes reminisce about the pure and beautiful days of her girlhood. At that moment, her secretary Judy entered the office to report on work and go over her schedule. A speech at the ladies' club on the Peak the next morning, a meeting at the headquarters of the Rixin Group in the afternoon to discuss the purchase of land for the construction of a new cathedral for the society. And most importantly, in the evening, she would attend the World Humanitarian Aid Charity Gala with Mr. Bai. At once, Wang Rong collected her thoughts and threw herself completely into her present life and her role. Chapter 8: Truth in a Dream. It was a hot summer noon in San Francisco. At this moment, Fong Ming was reading The Return of the Condor Heroes by Jin Yong in the Chinatown Library. Fong Ming had been in San Francisco for a year and a half. On the day he arrived, it was Xiaoyu who came to pick him up at the airport. They had not seen each other for 22 years since they parted ways. Yet, in the arrival hall, they immediately spotted each other. At the very least, when Fong Ming emerged from the crowd, he instantly saw a tall woman, beaming with joy, waving to him enthusiastically. That year, Xiaoyu was already nearly 60, but she had always looked young for her age, appearing just past 50, with a slender figure. There were traces of years at the corners of her eyes, but her gaze, the same gentle and affectionate eyes, now carrying the clarity and wisdom that only time can bring, had not changed despite everything she had experienced over 22 years. The most obvious difference for Fong Ming was that Xiaoyu had cut her long hair, which she had kept since childhood, into a neat neck-length bob, adding a touch of brightness to her delicate oval face. Before his arrival, Fong Ming had imagined this reunion 1,000 times over. On the plane, he wondered what attitude to take, what words to say. But the moment they recognized each other and walked quickly together, Fong Ming saw the look in Xiaoyu's eyes. Her focused gaze told him that Xiaoyu was still the Xiaoyu who loved him, unchanged by time. Her appearance might have changed, but beneath it remained a gentle and kind woman's soul. All of Fong Ming's anxiety from the long journey dissipated instantly. Xiaoyu softly called, "Ming," but before she could finish, Fong Ming pulled her into a tight embrace. He lowered his head and whispered, I am sorry." He hugged her even closer. "It was my fault, I have always. I am sorry." Fong Ming felt himself fighting back tears, while Xiaoyu, curiously, did not feel like crying. Instead, she felt a remarkable lightness, as if some shadow in her heart had suddenly been illuminated by sunlight. So she held Fong Ming too, gently patting his shoulder, softly saying, "I forgave you long ago." They said nothing more, reluctant to part. Amid the bustling crowd, neither would ever forget this most precious moment of their lives. After Xia Lixin graduated, he worked in finance on the East Coast, only able to fly back to San Francisco twice a year. Fong Zhang worked in Silicon Valley, returning every Sunday to spend time with his parents. To Fong Zhang, his parents were Fong Ming and Xiaoyu. The rest of the time, it was just Fong Ming and Xiaoyu's world. After the divorce from Wang Rong, Fong Ming and Xiaoyu registered their marriage at San Francisco City Hall. There was no ceremony, just their 2 sons and some of Xiaoyu's close friends as witnesses. Friends who had watched Xiaoyu struggle for years as a single mother, and who were genuinely happy for her. After arriving in San Francisco, Xiaoyu used Fong Ming's money to open a Chinese supermarket in Chinatown. Over the years, she had expanded to 5 stores in San Francisco and the Bay Area. After their marriage, Fong Ming helped run the business. Having managed large enterprises before, he quickly adapted, allowing Xiaoyu to fully retire and focus on home life, caring for Fong Ming. It was as if life had returned to the way it once was, except now Xiaoyu also made time for community service. On weekends like this, Fong Ming would drive Xiaoyu to Chinatown for dim sum, then drop her at the community center, where she taught free English classes for new immigrants. Fong Ming would then spend time at the main store in Chinatown, And if he had free time, he would visit the San Francisco Public Library to read until Xiaoyu finished work. Then they would have afternoon tea at a cafe before buying groceries and heading home. Fong Ming stubbornly maintaining the lifestyle of his old hometown, even in a foreign land. As he read The Return of the Condor Heroes, Fong Ming thought, perhaps the name Wang Rong truly was unlucky. The clever, lively Wang Rong of the Legend of the Condor Heroes became, in the sequel, a petty and manipulative woman disliked by readers. Many said the author meant to reveal a harsh truth. Time changes everything. No matter how spirited a woman, the grind of family and marriage will wear her down. Fong Ming used to agree, but now he saw things differently. He felt that, as people grow, they consciously or unconsciously shape themselves to be accepted by society, often hiding their true nature. Over time, the superficial layers are worn away, revealing what lies beneath. There is a saying, you can never truly know a person's heart, but time reveals all. Still, there are things time cannot erase, like Xiaoyu's devotion and sincerity to him. At the cafe, while paying the bill, Fong Ming glanced at the television and saw a report. A business delegation from his former hometown was visiting San Francisco this month, seeking cooperation opportunities. This was ordinary news, except the deputy head of the delegation was Wang Rong, now Madame Bai. On TV, Wang Rong wore a pure white cheongsam and a pearl necklace, elegant, dignified. Since becoming Madame Bai, she never appeared in any color but white. Fong Ming did not look too closely, or he would have noticed her heavy makeup and the unnatural stiffness on her face. Fong Ming frowned, a look of gravity and unease in his eyes. Lost in thought, he felt a slight pain on his arm. Xiaoyu had pinched him playfully, her big eyes winking as she teased. "Hey, what are you thinking about?" Leaving the cafe, Xiaoyu held Fong Ming's arm, looked up at him and said with a mock pout, "What is it? Missing your ex-wife?" Fong Ming immediately put on a serious face. "Of course not. I wish I could forget her." "Do not be so tense, I was only joking." Xiaoyu smiled tenderly, but then grew serious, asking gently, "Has something happened?" "Zheng told me that Wang Rong wants to meet him while she is here. Our son asked what I think, should he see her or not?" Fong Ming sighed. "Ming, she is still his birth mother. If she wants to see her own son, how could you stop her?" Xiaoyu replied, her tone thoughtful. "Sigh. You do not understand. That woman never does anything unless she benefits. With her status now, what does she want from Zheng? The last time Zheng got an email from her was over half a year ago." They strolled through the streets at dusk, hand in hand. Xiaoyu was silent for a while before she said softly, "Maybe in her world, Zheng is the only one she still cares about. That is why she wants to get close to her son." Fong Ming squeezed her hand gently. You are always so soft-hearted. But she is not as simple as you think." His tone darkened. "Actually, I have always suspected she killed Xing Jun." "What did you say?" Xiaoyu was shocked and stared at Fong Ming. On the way home, Fong Ming told Xiaoyu about the two strange dreams he had about Xing Jun's fall. Their home was a detached house in the Bay Area. Not large, but the upstairs balcony offered a panoramic view of the bay and Golden Gate Bridge. Fong Ming and Xiaoyu sat there with hot tea, watching the sunset over the bridge. "Ming, if you had not told me, I would never have believed anything so bizarre could happen in this world," Xiaoyu said, both astonished and chilled by Fong Ming's story. "I know it was just a dream, not something to accuse anyone of. After all, it cannot be proven true or false. Feng Ming paused. But from the time I was yelling at the door to when Wang Rong let me in, there were only the two of them inside. Only she knows what really happened. He took a sip of tea to steady himself. Actually, I had already decided to divorce her. But one night I had another dream, much scarier than before. Feng Ming still shivered at the memory. That night, Feng Ming was watching TV and drinking alone at home. Suddenly, he saw Xing Jun appear in the hallway leading to the bedroom. The two men exchanged a look, as if sharing a secret understanding. Xing Jun pointed toward the front door. Feng Ming looked in that direction and saw Wang Rong, whom he had not seen for months, coming in. Although she rarely returned home, Feng Ming had never changed the lock. She poked her head in, checking to see if anyone was home. Strangely, she did not see Feng Ming or Xing Jun, and Feng Ming was not surprised by this. Wang Rong wore black sportswear and a gray cap. She went straight to the kitchen, put on gloves, took out a bottle of Feng Ming's favorite liquor, opened it, and injected something from a syringe into the bottle. She screwed the cap back on, checked that it looked untouched, tidied up and left quickly. Soon after, another version of Feng Ming arrived home, took out that tampered bottle, sat on the sofa, turned on the TV and started drinking. In the dream, Feng Ming was struck by a chill. He realized he had just drunk from that very bottle. Before he could react, he heard the key in the door again. This time, Wang Rong entered wearing a dark blue dress, but did exactly the same thing. Then another Feng Ming came home, drank the same bottle. Feng Ming was engulfed by terror. He wanted to scream, to run, but found he could not move or speak. He watched this cycle repeat several times, until finally, he was able to move. He burst out the door, only to have Xing Jun suddenly appear, handing him a newspaper. Feng Ming saw only the bold headline: Wang Rong's elderly husband dies of sudden heart attack. Holy Mother weeps bitterly. Then Feng Ming woke up screaming. After waking from this nightmare, Feng Ming quickly gathered his thoughts and made a decision. He immediately called Zheng, telling him he had decided to divorce and would be going to America within the month. Zheng was shocked but delighted, happily making arrangements for Feng Ming's arrival in San Francisco. Zheng knew his father had suffered for years, but as a son, he did not know how to intervene and did not want to hurt his proud father's dignity. Now that his father had finally let go, Zheng's voice was bright with relief and joy. After all, he was grown up, had a good job in San Francisco, and could care for his father. Besides, Feng Ming still owned a house in their old city. Selling it would fetch a decent sum. Even without his mother, a comfortable life was not a problem. As Zheng prepared for his father's new life, he was surprised to learn that he would not be alone. When Zheng told Xia Lixian the good news, Xia Lixian revealed everything and told him that they were half-brothers. "I have already told your father, my father. You can ask him yourself. If you do not believe me, we can do a paternity test when you arrive," said Xia Lixian with a laugh. Jing was annoyed. "Do you think this is a joke? You have always been sensible. Would I doubt my father?" So the two brothers prepared for their father's new life abroad. When Feng Ming arrived, they agreed that only Xia Yu would pick him up at the airport. Back to the present. The weather was perfect, the sunset turning the sea golden. Yet, Feng Ming and Xia Yu were too preoccupied to enjoy the magical moment, as Feng Ming had just finished recounting his surreal and terrifying dream. Xia Yu listened quietly, gripping her teacup with trembling fingers. Her fear was even greater than Fong Ming's, for to her, this was not just a dream, but a possible reality. In other words, Wang Rong might really have been willing to eliminate Fong Ming to marry by Shikun, and to do so in a way that left her completely free, both legally and morally. It seemed like a warning, perhaps a message from the deceased Xing Jun. Xiaoyu thought. If Fong Ming had not had this dream, and if it had come true, she might have read the news in the Chinese newspaper's entertainment section and never seen him again. She dared not think further. Back then, when she left home pregnant, abandoned by Fong Ming, she had known, through media reports, about his ups and downs. His wealth after marriage, subsequent business failure, Wang Rong's affair, Xing Jun's fall, and finally his decline. Xiaoyu sighed but felt at peace. Such is the impermanence and cost of life. Yet she knew if she ever saw news of Fong Ming's sudden death, she would never recover from such a loss. After a long silence, Xiaoyu finally asked, "So, Ming, do you plan to prevent Zheng from seeing her?" Fong Ming sighed deeply. "Zheng is grown. Let him decide for himself." He reached out and held Xiaoyu's hand tightly. "For me, in the days left, only you matter most." Fong Ming was filled with gratitude. Fate had taken him on a long, winding journey, but ultimately brought him back to the woman who had always loved him, allowing him to rediscover love and be loved, and to atone for the regrets of his past. Xiaoyu said nothing. She simply walked over and embraced the man she loved most, burying herself in his arms, silent. The nightmare had made Xiaoyu realize that the happiness she held now had almost slipped away. The man who held her hand each day and slept beside her each night could have been lost forever just half a year ago. It was this sudden realization that made Xiaoyu feel as though she had survived a great ordeal. Fong Ming understood too. His whole life's fulfillment or regret depended on fate's mercy. So Fong Ming wrapped his arms around Xiaoyu, stroked her hair and whispered in her ear, I love you." Xiaoyu was stunned. She did not say, "I love you too," but instead wept silently. It was the first time she had cried since their reunion, for she remembered that since the age of 17, from the time she was with Fong Ming until their separation, this proud man had never once spoken those words to her. So she cried even harder. Fong Ming said nothing more, only held her tighter. In the twilight of life, the two lovers who had endured so much embraced each other in silence for a long, long time. And behind the Golden Gate Bridge, the setting sun finally slipped below the horizon, leaving the sky awash with rose-colored clouds. Thank you for listening to Wang Rong, a modern parable. Every story leaves a trace, and yours, as a listener, completes hers. She got everything she once prayed for: the mansion, the fame, the perfect husband. To the world, Wang Rong is the picture of success, a socialite, a saint, a symbol of triumph. But behind the glittering facade lies silence, a husband's contempt, a family's rejection, and a secret she cannot hide, the one thing she can never give him. As her scandal resurfaces and the walls close in, Wang Rong begins to see the truth, that the paradise she built is just another cage. Still, she refuses to fall. Because for Wang Rong, defeat is never the end. It's only the beginning of another fight against fate. What judgment will destiny pass upon her next? The story continues in chapters 9 to 11 of Wang Rong, a modern parable. Her name is King Hain. She is a creator who moves between the worlds of fate and literature. With her pen, she writes about human desires and destiny, exploring the struggle and cycles of fate. She believes that stories are not just stories. Every play of fate reflects the soul within us. Her works include The Chronicle of Burning Dreams, The Tale of Wang Rong, and the ongoing The Sequel to Wang Rong. These stories are about choice, belief, and how people search for themselves amid the great waves of destiny. What we hear is not just a novel, but a dialogue between souls.